So I was listening to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, and I got hungry and I decided to go get some food. So now I'm just sitting in my vehicle. Um, I already ate, so I'm satisfied. But after I eat, I get tired, and then I start thinking about shit. Because now you know my appetite is satisfied. So now I go back to not being able to shut my brain off now that my brain is not preoccupied with what do I want to eat. I'm hungry. But I was listening to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson even before I left, even before I went to go get food, and I stopped playing it as I was ordering my food, obviously, and then when I got back in my vehicle, I really started to think about, what was being said. And I love watching Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, and I love the fact that there are a lot of brothers that, we're vibing together, on this whole issue that everybody, just gaslights us on, which is the fact that there is no black male agenda. We got this bullshit gender war going on with our women. I still, see, very little accountability on their part. Like, even when we talk about the whole issue of childless men and single mothers, I mean, the women that don't even have children don't even want to go up against the single mothers and call this shit out. Right. But yet they want to have this, thriving, intact community, and it's this chicken before the egg argument when we talk about the gender war. The women claim no loyalty on the part of men, even though, again, arguably, you look at the men that they're loyal to. The men that have done the most damage to them, are not the men that they want initially. Even when it comes to, I pulled up some lyrics of, Sierra in her "Can't Leave 'Em Alone" song. And I mean, she says it right in there. I wish I had the lyrics right in front of me, but she makes the distinction about, a lame or EL and, a street dude, and talks about how the lame can try, but he can never be. And I'm like, and who does she have the baby by? Men like Russell Wilson are not the men that are doing the damage to these women. Like, these women run around, and complain and then spread that to, the masses of black men. It's just, I mean, this is what it is, and dealing with black women on these type of arguments is like dealing with white supremacy in terms of, just how they gaslight you on the stuff that you point out. But, that's what they'll say. They'll talk about, all sorts of victimizations, of black women. Even though the women who are even talking a lot about the shit haven't even been victimized, but that's a whole different conversation. But then, on the other side, you have the men, black men, where we identify, the areas in which women are getting away with murder. And the only thing that we can do is not participate, because we don't have the government and the media on our side. That's the part that kills me about the women that want to talk about how, black women are, so vulnerable and they're ignored and this, that, and the third. Every time I turn on MSNBC and CNN, it's Joy Reid up there talking about the empowerment of women, talking about how women are the backbone and the foundation of the Democratic Party, talking about how we got to get black women to go out there and vote. And they've spent all this time completely ignoring black men. Just completely ignoring it. Or we get the arguments about how, we need black girl magic, or we need black girl empowerment. Like, we haven't had that over the last 30 years. Like, there's still this movement in the black community that acts like girls are the ones that are behind. But then as soon as we get to the dating and marriage discussion and conversation, then all of a sudden the reality that the boys are behind, or that the boys are failing, bubbles to the surface. Then these women turn around and talk about, we need to swirl it up and everything else. And I'm like, why weren't we focused on the boys, like I said 10 years ago? If you want to be married to a black man, if a black man is your priority, if you want to say that the only reason you're hopping the fence is because black men are failing and you don't have a choice, then again, why didn't we focus on boys 10 years ago? Why was there so much pushback when I originally brought that point up 10 years ago? Everything was about girl power. You go girl empowerment, all this stuff that they've gotten women high off of, on television. To the point that, like I said, with all these movies that they're showing from freaking, Star Wars and Atomic Blonde and freaking Ray and all the other shit, women are just running around kicking men's ass all over the place. Going back to what I said about belief systems. You get these women that jump up and they talk about, their loyalty to black men, but their loyalty only goes to the extent of black men being promoted in the media via, street culture and hypermasculinity. And so they sexually desire black men, but still they think that they're supposed to be ahead of black men, that they're smarter than black men, that they know more than black men, that black men are basically to be their concubines and to be added to their program, while simultaneously claiming that, they want hypergamous treatment. It's insane. And so you have this image where, the media caters to black women and makes black women look like, they're the rock and the foundation and backbone of the black community, right? Which is facilitated by all of the black women's relationship with the government and welfare and housing and all that stuff, right? Because there's no black male agenda. We don't want to empower black boys. We'll empower black women because black women are not a threat. They never will be to the white supremacist, capitalist, heteronormative, cisgendered patriarchy, right? They never will be, but the women don't see that. They argue that we need more power because our men are weak or our men aren't where they're supposed to be. So we need more power so that we can independently, do whatever. And then, you got the women who drink the Kool-Aid on that, who later come to find out like, oh shit, I really need a man, or I want a man, or I can't do it all, and then you got the other women that have, through, subterfuge, have come in and with their feminist agenda, don't want a man, typically on some LGBT community shit, and all they want is power, and they've interwoven themselves into the fabric of the, women who are, heteronormative, cisgendered, and actually want a man and whatnot, but they get high off of, all this promotion of female empowerment and whatnot, which only, alienates them, from black men. I'll be the first one to admit that African American women, as they stand, leave a horribly foul taste in my mouth. Horribly foul taste in my mouth. When they run up and they talk about all this loyalty and all this other bullshit. And again, you see how they think that, they're supposed to be ahead of black men and better than black men. And then the only time that you hear the women talking about that they're looking for a man to be more established than them is when they got dependents, when they got somebody else's babies. Then they want to tell you about how, they need, heteronormative, cisgendered, patriarchal men, with a dash of toxic masculinity so that they feel safe, secure, and protected. It's irritating as fuck. Right. And so, to get into the politics, and how, all this shit now, like Roland Martin, I'm watching Dr. T. Hassan Johnson mention them during his clip. I go over, I click on Roland Martin. I go to the Roland Martin tab, and he's got a video where somewhere in the title it's talking about black men, and they're talking to Biden's somebody's Mr. Williams or whatever. So he's like, again, a black face, another black shill. And he's up there talking about, people of color. And Roland Martin, he called it out. Right now, I don't really trust Roland Martin. I think Roland Martin is kind of, because remember, when Roland Martin, when he lost his job at MSNBC and all that other stuff, and then he went to, News One, and then that fell through, and then now he's got his YouTube, it's like, he is the quintessential black pimp pastor preacher. Right. So as we've talked about, black men stop going to the church because they cannot live off of hope indefinitely. They need jobs and economic opportunities. Right. And now the church is full of nothing but, single mothers. Right. And what does the pastor do? Goes up there and caters to, the women. The pastor is not giving sermons about fornication and giving sermons about, women who are unwed and all that stuff that it says in the Bible that all these good Christian black women swear up and down that they believe in when it comes to the tenets of white Jesus. Right? They're not talking about that stuff because, again, it is single mothers that are paying the tithes of the black church. Okay, and all these, empowered women and whatnot. My goodness, do I know so many educated black women who try to, use their affiliation with white Jesus as a cudgel to beat black men over the head and shame black men into arguing that only through them, since they have a direct channel to God. Only through them can a black man achieve greatness, right? And then again, she's got her own money and her own finances that she tries to use and leverage in the relationship. But then, whenever they get to that bridge that they can't cross, or that argument, then she's going to invoke God, or she's going to invoke scripture, right? Or if the woman is not on the white Jesus bandwagon, then she will invoke, Hotep, or, original Earth Mother, Goddess, High Priestess, Oracle status, right? And tell you about the 5 kingdoms of Africa, the 5 queendoms of Africa. Excuse me, not kingdoms, queendoms of Africa. And she'll try to invoke melanin and all that other bullshit. I'm just, as a black man, I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting with my own women, right? And again, women have, grievances that have been brought up, some of them legitimate, other ones completely bullshit. And it's hard to decipher and pick it out, because women get the benefit of the doubt, in that arena. There's certain classic canned responses that they can bring up that nobody questions, nobody challenges. If a woman brings up rape or sexual assault, nobody's really going to give a whole bunch of pushback on that. Right. But, when you have people like Dr. T. Hassan Johnson that are giving the raw numbers, like what we talk about with the police brutality, say her name, and black women are dropping the bucket when it comes to, police brutality. And this whole using of black male bodies, to further, activate a political agenda, or motivate, the moving forward of said political agenda. Right. But then when black men stand there and say, what's in it for us, it's crickets, it's nothing. Or there's objection, from the black female peanut gallery, again, the same women talking about they ain't got nobody to marry and nobody's on their level and everything. As soon as you talk about, hey, we got to do something for the young men out here, objections as like they act just like white people. Like as though discussing reparations for slavery means, that all of a sudden all white America is going to be put in the poorhouse. Like they're just going to lose everything because we're talking about, correcting an injustice. Right. So the women act like, any focus on black men, they'll lose power, they'll lose their position, and especially, your black female feminist and whatnot. They most certainly don't want that to happen. But yet, black men stay in the weak position, and then it's constantly complained that black men are incapable or ill-equipped or unable to go out there and compete with other races of men. So we're just supposed to stay in this perpetual state of being shit on. Right, being told that we must do, but then when we demand the necessary tools to be able to do what we're being asked or demanded to do, right, then there's objections to the shit. Again, same thing I said about, the white guys that sit there and talk about black people need to show personal responsibility. You get a bunch of black people that go off and buy 19 acres of land in Georgia to create their own community, and then they jump up and start screaming reverse racism. It's the same shit. I want a man to be alpha, but not too alpha, right? I want a man to have game, but not so much game that he attracts other women. And then now you got to sit there and be insecure about the fact that he's attracting other women, right? I want a man to be gentle, but not too gentle, because if he's too gentle, I might think he's gay and likes it in the ass. You see, you can't win with the shit. It's very frustrating to be a black man because there's all these demands and expectations, placed on you. And then you get the women that try to equalize that to, wearing makeup and heels and looking feminine and being fucking cooperative. I'm like, you don't have to go out there and lay the foundations and build up the community and maintain it and defend it and possibly sacrifice your life. You're not expected to do that. But yet, and still, we get these arguments about 50-50 inequality and progressive agendas and all this other stuff, right? But yet, these women still sit around and they want all of the privileges and the perks of hypergamy and a patriarchy that they don't even fundamentally believe in at the core. It's supposed to be we're African, black men are supposed to recognize the queen and do for the queen, not do because they operate on the same parameters or belief systems as other patriarchal communities that they're supposed to go out here and be economically and politically competing against. So anyway, getting back to the politics, I want Donald Trump to win. Let me say that. I want Donald Trump to win. Donald Trump is dangerous. Donald Trump is a fucking problem. This is why I advocate for black people to be out there when it comes to the Second Amendment. And again, get ready, for these white folks that are going to be running around, with their feelings and emotions. Be prepared for them. You have the Second Amendment right. Use it. I already have a fundamental problem with black people going out there and voting for the political party that intends to disarm you and essentially has already disarmed you. I argue with people on a daily basis when I say that the Democrats want to take your guns away and they act like it's ridiculous. And then all I got to do is point to the laws that already exist in the Democratic enclaves. Look at the gun laws of New York and compare it to Pennsylvania. Look at the gun laws of New Jersey and compare it to Pennsylvania, or the gun laws of California. Right? Then they always go, oh, well, look at all the black on black crime and the violence in the inner city and all this other stuff. I'm like, those are economic issues. Again, please direct me to the upper middle class black kids committing drive-bys and I'll shut the hell up. But they can never show me these upper middle class black kids committing drive-bys, just like the sisters can't show me, these black men that love 50 plus inches that are driving around in a Mercedes Benz. They can never show me that. Oh, black men, they love big women. That's why we can't lose the weight. But they can never show me the brother with the 7 Series BMW and the S-Class Mercedes Benz that's got the 200-pound chick in the passenger seat. They can never show me that. I want Donald Trump to win so that the Democratic Party feels the heat. Not to mention with all the stuff that, there's nothing in there that's advantageous or beneficial to black men. Everything is lip service. Everything is symbolism. There's nothing tangible and visceral. And I'm offended that all of a sudden at the 11th hour, a month out from, elections, all of a sudden, they want to just sprinkle crumbs, on black men about what they're going to potentially do, but not really do. And again, they don't want to say black men. This is specifically for black men. They want to throw the vaguality of, oh, this is men of color. Like, nah, we ain't trying to hear that. And that's where Roland Martin comes in, because obviously he's been listening to the young black voices online because, we are the new generation. All these other geriatrics patients and whatnot, they don't know what's going on top of the fact that all they can do is collect Social Security and they're not even in the job market. OK, it is no, regardless of whether it was their responsibility that they didn't fulfill, it is no longer their role to be the ones that lay down the foundations in the community. It is our role and our responsibility as young black men. So, I don't want, Biden and Harris to win, because what is that going to do? What is that going to say? the women are still going to be running out there talking their dumb shit about black women empowerment and fist in the air and girls and this, that, and the third. And we still going to have the same single mother situation. We still going to have the same thug loving. We still going to have everything that's been going on over the last freaking 40 years. We're still going to have all that same bullshit that's not going to go away. Women dependent on the government and the state and all that other shit. And black men still getting locked up, mass incarceration. We're losing the boys, right? Because, there's no gainful employment for them, right? Because the men that came before us didn't lay down, those foundations. I mean, going right back to the clip that I just posted with Malcolm X and him talking to that bedwench, Evelyn Rich. You know what I'm saying? And talking about, economic opportunities and clearly, saying the same things that I've said. And I didn't even hear that clip before, the years that I've been sitting here saying it. It's obvious. You see how other communities are operating and they have intact patriarchal communities and the jobs and the opportunities and what they, build and create. And many of these things are supported by policies. It took policies to destroy the black community. It's going to take policies and resources to fix it. And nobody wants to have that conversation. As soon as you get into policies, there's all this, all of a sudden everybody's got a speech impediment. But when you're talking about, symbolism, like I said, the Democratic Party will give you the symbolism. The right will not give you the symbolism. They won't do it. They're not going to give you the symbolism. Only the left gives you the symbolism, right? Because the right has to cater to its base. And if they even look like they're going to do anything for black people, those white people start freaking the hell out. But I need the Democratic Party to feel the heat. I need the Republican Party's, heads to look up like, wait a minute, they didn't vote for when the numbers come out and they see that huge, because that's what they're going to see. They'll see a slight dip with black women for the black women that, get it. They'll see a slight dip with black women with this whole Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, presidency. And notice I said Kamala Harris and Joe Biden presidency because Joe Biden ain't going to make it to the end of his term. Most certainly not a second term. He's too old. He's too old. He's already showing signs of, mental degeneration. Too old. It's going to be Kamala Harris is going to be your president. Guaranteed. If the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden ticket is what takes place. That's what's going to happen. And I've already talked about and other people have talked about, the freaking the colorism delusion of Kamala Harris as a black woman. But, again, all other conversation, she's a light skinned bitch that colorist black men would have pursued or something like that. But, now, because she's in a position of power, she's the darkest woman we've ever seen, just nonsense. But you already know that the women are not philosophically consistent on that front. Okay, only a handful. But I've seen more and more sisters jumping up and talking about we Democrat. So I only imagine that there's going to be a slight dip. But when it comes to black men, between that freaking 18 to 45, it's going to be a huge dip. It's going to be a huge deal. Again, I was watching the debate, and the guy, there was a white guy who was a political pundit or correspondent or whatever for MSNBC, and he said it. He was like, Donald Trump thinks that he's winning with blacks, right? And then he said, well, actually, he's winning with black men. He's got, he's showing significant increase with black men. But the Democrats are losing black men. And again, this whole time, I mean, we've been talking about this shit for 2 years now, and I mean, we're starting with the ADOS and the reparations for slavery. They dodged that, again, talking about, a black male agenda, and again, we get into these arguments about, whether a black male agenda will be beneficial to the community. The feminists and the other women, the black man haters, they're going to say no. I'm like, okay, I'm not here to freaking argue with you about that, right? Because they feel how they feel about that. I believe differently. I'm like, regardless of how they feel, I'm like, you're not going to ever turn the black community around until you have black men who are gainfully employed, period. Period. There is no correction of the black community without black men being gainfully employed and being head of household. Period. So if your orientation is, well, we don't want that to happen because we don't have any faith that you're going to do the right. Okay, well, then it's done at that point. Okay, we can stop talking about black community and everything, and you might as well go and continue to have a conversation and your fantasies about swirling and all that other stuff. And that's what it is. And then black men, we just focus on ourselves. And that's all it is. And the black community's dead. And then what you'll just see is a rise of a bunch of beige individuals and a bunch of racially ambiguous people. And like I said, the light-skinned people, they're going to be the segue between the white and the black, and black will be perpetually at the bottom. If you got dark skin and you look like Kodak Black, you're going to be in poverty and stay in poverty because you won't have any connection to resources, because resources will be defined by how light you are and whether you have a white parent or a non-black parent that actually has access to any aspect of an intact patriarchal community, which is not black, which is therefore always going to be lighter. So colorism will be further exacerbated. You thought the expansion of the light-skinned universe was bad. Oh, the furtherance of colorism will be even more exacerbated, which is why I look at black women sometimes. I'm like, damn, y'all do everything like that goes against you. You know, it just, you think that it's for you initially, but ultimately in the end, it goes against you. It's nuts. It's nuts. You know, always talking about, the black men, they this, they that, they all messed up and this, then the third. And yet majority of black men are exclusively raised by black women. But yet you can't even turn a microscope in black women's direction and be like, what is going on over here? And then they start, they scramble the jets, scramble like a bunch of like rats and shit like that. Like, oh, they don't want to be, they just don't want to be accountable. It's like when you turn the lights on and the fucking roaches just fucking flee and shit. It's like, is anybody going to stay and be accountable? No, we ain't got nothing to do with that. No, we got to find some way to make it about some black man's wrongdoing as to why I'm over here on this stupid shit. Like I said, I want the Democratic Party to feel the heat. I do not care if this house of cards burns down. All this shaming that you black men, keep getting about, oh, you need to vote Democrat and everything else. Oh, because America will collapse. And so the fuck what if America collapses? This motherfucker ain't benefiting us. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's coming and trying to tell literally the caboose on the train what the caboose. I'm like, I'm not steering this motherfucker. I'm being dragged along. But everybody want to come to the caboose and try to convince the caboose, to do something as though the caboose can do anything. That shit is irritating. That shit is hella irritating. Like I said, black women needs to be protected and then, vote away all the guns. Right? Then talk about how they're not being protected. Talk about how Pookie needs to be confronted. Right? And don't get me wrong, we've already talked about the internal issues that black men have with addressing this, these things. It's not like black men don't have problems. But I most certainly don't expect to see, outside obstacles from people who are supposed to be, a part of the community as well. But I have to address black men about many of the things that we're not doing. Like, primary example, why the fuck does Dr. T. Hassan Johnson only have 10,000 views? He's got 10.7, I believe, at this point. Why does he only have 10,000 views? I understand that Kevin Samuels draws women too, but Kevin Samuels has 100,000 fucking views. And here you got Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, PhDs. Same thing with all the other channels. People talk about business. You look at black business channels. They ain't pulling those type of numbers. It's like you got black people that are here just for the entertainment, just for the gossip. This is how I know. People talk about, oh, Pete, why you got low views? Oh, you need to stop using profanity. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson ain't using no profanity. Why does he only have 10,000 views? Again, if black people are serious, especially black men are serious about their condition and whatnot, why don't we support the people that should be supported? Got people coming to me talking about, oh, well, why don't I do this? Why don't I have this channel? Oh, you got flagged again. This, that, and the third. And only a fraction of the number of people have even come over to my page and even subscribed. Only a fraction of the people even like my videos. Maybe whatever, my reputation, or you have people who don't like me and you don't want them to see that you're watching my videos. Make another goddamn account and like and subscribe the goddamn videos. You know me, I ain't never asked nobody to like and subscribe. Or do that bullshit that you see other people doing on their channel where they're sitting there and they start the video off and they're like, if you don't have a micro penis, like and subscribe. I'm not doing that bullshit. It's like, and honestly, like every time my page gets purged or whatever, it's like I get distilled down to the serious people, which are really the only people that I want to talk to. As I was told, I influence the influencers. I only want to talk to the serious people. I only want the serious people in my comment section. I don't want the trolls. I don't want the people in their feelings and emotions. I don't want none of that shit. And it's sad that the individuals that are actually, serious, that can actually share and convey, the message to other people. Like the whole idea, like I don't need to have 1 million fucking views. What I need is whatever it is that you take from my video, whatever it is, keep the baby, throw out the bathwater. Whatever it is you take from my video, you should be having conversations with other black men. You don't have to say, oh, Sergeant Willie Pete or SWP or whatever. All you got to do is have the conversation and just bring up my talking points if you think that they're valid talking points. And watch the literal brain meatloaf that is a lot of black men out here that, it's like, how do you not get this shit, bro? Especially the older niggas, especially the older ones, the olders. But honestly, that's not even who we should be dealing with. We should be getting these young boys' minds right. Stimulating them, get them to see things for what it is, because they're not going to learn it from school. We already know that the school does not serve, our collective best interests. Teacher, you go to these schools, at the very best, all they're going to do is teach you to go out there and be a worker bee for somebody else. When you graduate, you can get a good job, right? They're not teaching you to go out there and be creators and developers and initiators and stuff like that. That's not the goal. It's not the goal of a public education. We should have our own education, but even still, you got people talking about how you got Umar Johnson and where's the school and all this other stuff. And he's collected $2 million in that. I don't know. People asking me like I know what's going on with Umar Johnson. But we do need our own schools, and preferably gender separated black male schools. I mean, that is what we're going to need. We are going to need, a sort of militarized structure in terms of black male education, because this country is not serving, black males. And even our own women, they may be our mothers and whatnot, but, again, the government has them. Okay. Good luck trying to hold black women accountable. Good luck getting them to acknowledge or admit anything. Even when it comes to our own mothers, which is another conversation that always gets overlooked, about black males' frustrations with their own mothers and why they go out there and they're looking elsewhere because they don't want to deal with that cultural element of black womanhood. This whole belief system, that women are supposed to be ahead and everything. And if you're talking about patriarchy, women are instantly talking about, how they're oppressed in some manner, but yet they want all the benefits, that come from, or what they see from other patriarchal communities. And then when we talk about making sure or ensuring that the next generation of young men have the necessary tools or get the necessary support, there's always some fucking objection somewhere. I'm like, what are you objecting? And that's why I look at a lot of these women like they're selfish. They want shit for themselves, but as it pertains to their daughters It's like, fuck their daughters. But yet they want to claim about, the black woman is unprotected and who doesn't give a fuck about the black woman, right? But when you look at what these women have not done, for their daughters, and I'm saying you get a lot of women. That's another area where the women, they don't want to be honest about that shit. Only on occasion do I have women actually relay back to me conversations that are being had internally within women's internal conversations when women are talking about these issues. Like mothers fucking young girls' boyfriends and shit like that, or trying to compete with them, or the type of internalized jealousy because the mother is no longer physically attractive to young men, and the daughter is getting all the attention, and then you got this sort of jealousy and animosity within the household because mom can't get it together. But, again, that doesn't get discussed. It's just, evil black men, black women. We've been out here raising children all by ourselves, and we've all wanted to marry and supportive. We wanted to get married at 19, and we wanted supported, black men who had, stable careers and jobs, and we just wanted to settle down and just be wives like white women. Like, bullshit. But yet these women will come on and they'll spew that shit. Yet every time I turn on MSNBC, CNN, black woman up there. Yes, and black women, we need more power. It's like fucking. It's like I just want to be like the Incredible Hulk. You ever see like the 2003 freaking Incredible Hulk with the the Absorbing Man and shit like that, where the Hulk was in the lake and he was like, take it all. And the Absorbing Man was like, no, it's too much. That's exactly how black women are. It's too fucking, you give them the whole truckload. They don't want the whole truckload. No. No, we only want the benefits. We only want the parts that look cool. We only want the parts that look beneficial. We only want the parts where you get to pull out the sword and stand there and hold it towards the sun and look awesome. Like, but wait, all this responsibility and shit. Like, nah, we don't want that. No. We don't want all that. They want the glory of the Vikings going off and raping and pillaging and some shit like that. But they don't realize, like, yeah, all hands on deck, down into the gallows and start rowing. Like, oh, no, rowing? I didn't come here to row. I only came here for the glory. It's like, see, I'm like, I can't with these women. I can't. And then by calling this out, you hate black women, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist, misogynoir, you hate your mother, all because you're frustrated with blatant levels of freaking hypocrisy, intellectual dishonesty, gaslighting, and philosophical inconsistency. It's irritating. And then, again, we look at the political system, we look at the government, we look at the law enforcement, we look at the society as a whole. It's just fuck black men. And don't get me wrong, there's aspects of fuck black women, like when it comes to black women's beauty. And as I've talked about before, what they do is they successfully role reverse the black community. We're going to elevate black women on empowerment, basically all the roles that men should have. We're going to elevate them on that, but then we're going to totally disregard them in terms of, beauty and attraction and femininity and everything else. But then when we go over to the men, we're going to make the men look desirable as fuck. We're going to just get him up there looking like D'Angelo and put some oil, put some chicken grease on his body, make him look real good. We're going to make black men the objects of sexual lust and desire. Look, we'll even put it in porn. Blacked.com. How come blacked.com only means black men dicking down white women, but not black women getting with white men? No, it's only black men with white women, which only further exacerbates and creates black female inadequacy, inferiority complex, right? And then that's where a lot of the anger is derived, right? This whole aspect of lack of desirability somehow equates to a total pushing back on a lot of the things that need to be done for black males to correct the problem. As I said before, white men ain't going to sit there and elevate black women. The only men that are going to elevate black women are black men, but black men need to be in the position to elevate black women with a media that they controlled. I mean, shit, you got ELs, they're not even promoting themselves. I have to keep reminding black men that as Dr. T. Hazanchin talked about, the world was reintroduced to black masculinity in the late 80s, early 90s with gangster rap. And as a result, there's no other alternative way of viewing black men, even in the eyes of black women. Everything is street culture, and none of this. That's why Barack Obama, was like, even though he's biracial, but because of the one drop ruling of America, was an imagery godsend for black men. Maybe not dark-skinned black men, but for the concept of black men, in general, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm saying there's a reason why people gravitated, towards, Barack Obama. It was the closest thing, that brothers got. But then that brings up the question about, okay, well, what's the difference between Kamala Harris and Barack Obama? Is Kamala Harris really a reflection of black women? I don't think so. Should she be? I don't think so. I mean, you're not even talking about somebody who's black and white. You're talking about somebody who's, her father's, he light skinned, and then the mother is Indian. I'm like, that's some other shit. But yeah, people are trying to grab on that little tiny bit. And like I said, the mulattoes will be, the middle class, just like you see in South Africa with the coloreds and the Pardo community in Brazil. That is what you're going to see. But it's like there's this imagery problem when it comes to both genders. And when I look at the women, it's like they want the power, but they want to be desired. When I look at the men, they like being desired, but they want to be respected. You see? And that needs to be turned around. But it's like, how the hell do you turn that around? How do you turn that around? It's hard getting black men off of being sex gods. They like it. It's hard getting black women off of being drunk off of this illusion of power that they have in their minds. Like that woman that was on the Kevin Samuel show talking about, I'm a boss, ain't got no goddamn employees. Just like I said 10 years ago, when I looked up the numbers, 95% because they were talking all this stuff back in the day with because even Roland Martin went up. The clip is of Roland Martin, who said out of his own mouth that the black community is a matriarchy when he was addressing whatever woman was like CEO of BET at the time. Okay. Or no, she said it was a matriarchy, and he was, basically co-signing the shit, talking about the increase of women's buying power. They were at some hair convention or something. I'll see if I can find the clip. So this is what was going on 10 years ago. The black community is the only matriarchal community, and again, they thought that shit was where shit was going. Now you got all this talk about, hypergamy and all this other shit, and women repositioning and trying to reclaim their femininity, which I'm not gonna knock. Okay. I just don't like the double talk. You know what I mean? I don't like we were forced to be here. We had no other choice. I'm like, no, you like the power. Like, cut the bullshit. Just like black men out here liked, riding the coattails of street dudes' desirability and increasing young black men's attractiveness in the eyes of non-black women. Because they didn't have to deal with just black women. They could sit there and go, oh shit, freaking 50 Cent Magic Stick just dropped. All I got to do is go to the gym and take my shirt off. And, non-black women are coming up like, oh, he looks like 50 Cent, throwing the pussy at him. But I don't know how you turn that around. When you have these people that like they focus on fantasy. That whole sexual desirability shit, that's a young man's game. If you are over the age of 30, you should not be running around making your objective to be the most physically and sexually desirable man in the world. You should be focusing on your economic empowerment. But, like I said, when Kevin brought that point up, I was like, yeah, I already looked up the numbers on that. The black women's businesses have gone up 200%, and women were talking about how they're killing it. I mean, you should have heard the conversations back in 2008. We're killing it. We're going to the moon and back. We're unstoppable. This is what the women were saying. Black women are registering. Our businesses registration is up 200%. 200% with no employees. 95% of black female businesses had no employees and only brought in less than $15,000 a year. That was 95% of them, and that was back in 2008, 2009 when I looked up the numbers. So you guys, I mean, it's no different than these guys running around talking about they got a mixtape and they about to get signed and they album about to drop. But I'm like, but you ain't there yet, boo boo. You ain't there yet. And the same thing goes for these women, that talk about their I have businesses and shit like that. I'm like, and think about it. It doesn't even make sense. We had the Baltimore riots and whatnot. You got all these young black men out here that with the riots, with the George Floyd riots, they out there stealing from Foreman Mills and shit like that. All these young black men out there in the streets. And I'm like, but y'all black women running around, bragging about your education, how many businesses you have, but yet your young black men are out here in the streets committing criminal activity, filling up the prisons because they're not gainfully employed. How come he ain't working for his mama if his mama's so kick ass and got all the degrees and got all the she's CEO, CFO, she wears multiple hats, right? If it was like that out here. And why do we have all these women calling in Kevin Samuel's show talking about they want a high value man and, they're struggling and whatnot? If it was, black women who have all these corporations and are CEOs that are hiring other black women as opposed to hiring black men, because, that would be the counter argument. Well, these women are hiring other women and empowering other women. Are they really? Are they really? Because I'm still trying to figure out why the community looks the way that it does. It's all the black man's fault. You know how these arguments go. But like I said, I'm like, your own sons? You mean to tell me if black women were out here with CEO, corporate executive jobs because of the corporations that they built, with their raw hands, right? You mean to tell me that all these women would not be putting their sons on as their mothers? The shit don't add up. I'm glad Dr. T. Hassan Johnson uses, raw number, the actual, figures, and, he does the research and everything. But you can look at a lot of this stuff anecdotally, not all of it, but you can look at a lot of this stuff and sit there and be like, okay, well, you're saying this, but this doesn't make sense. Again, like the shit we had to point out about, women complaining about men not being on their level, but then we keep consistently seeing examples of women not liking men who were on their level or above because they didn't like the fact that changed the power dynamic. So they were, again, making a valid point, but it was an illegitimate complaint. Complaining about something that, they didn't have. Just like I talked about the young boys sitting there talking about any woman over 29 that's not married, is there something wrong with her? But yet neither one of them were in the position to actually marry a woman. Nor were they married. You could go that angle as well. I'm like, how dare you? And the same goes for the women complaining about shit that they go out here and strategically and intentionally avoid until something happens and they realize, oh shit, I need a man with resources. Oh shit, I got dependents. I got these responsibilities. And they go and they running out here, hoping and wishing and praying to go out and do the Russell Wilson thing. Anyway, like I said, I want Donald Trump to win, not because I I think Donald Trump is a great president or a great man. No, he's a horrible person, horrible individual. You know, but, you know, and arguably there's many people on the right who feel the same way, but, you know, they'll get shouted out by the people who are on the far right, you know. Like, example, Donald Trump is way better than Biden and Kamala Harris as it pertains to the Second Amendment. Not the greatest, but better. And if that's important to you, then, you know, that's what you got to look at. And for me, it's important to me because I recognize that you cannot vote away white supremacy. You cannot vote away, you know, racism in the hearts and minds of people. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, what do you think? Kamala Harris is going to get in there and Joe Biden's going to get in there and then direct police to go out there and what? Enforce the laws that are going to be in black people's favor and address all these white supremacists. Well, the white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement. You saw the shit with the Congress and the FBI director who was trying to say that white supremacy was a threat, and then you had a couple whistleblowers who blew the whistle and said that, you know, there were people in the upper parts of the FBI that were trying to downplay the threat of white supremacy, and these sort of you know, white supremacist militias and organizations, right, who are armed to the teeth. And no, I don't think the solution to these militias is to disarm everybody so that black people who are still stuck in this racist ass nation are completely disarmed. Or use, you know, the poverty and the crime and the gun violence in the black community as a reason or justification for black people to be disarmed. I'm like, no, address the poverty and all that shit will go away. But they don't want to address the poverty because what? That dives into tangibles and resources and the economics and everything else like that. So like I recognize, you know, we're stuck in this quagmire. And that being the case, I'm like, well, I want to have my tools to protect myself just in case shit gets funky. Just in case shit gets stupid. I need my deterrent. I need my tools to be able to look white supremacy in the eye and say, hey, man, you come over here, man, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. Because I'm not just going to, you know, lay down and take it in the ass with a smile. I'm not just going to be marched off, you know, to some camp somewhere. Fuck you. Take these hollows. But, you know, other black folks, I understand they scared. They don't want to fight. They think that there's another way to resolve it and all that other stuff. I hope there's another way to resolve it. But, you know, you see all these white folks out here, these Karens and all that other shit. What do you think? I already did a video. I'm repeating myself. But what do you think is going to happen, you know, when Donald Trump wins the election? They're going to be emboldened. And what do you think is going to happen when Donald Trump, or if Donald Trump loses the elections? They're going to, you know, 10 toes down, you know, dig their heels into the ground, and they're going to become even nastier. So either way, whoever wins the election, it doesn't mean that that the racism is going to go away, which is very much a black female way of thinking. My own mother is one of these individuals who thinks like that. Who thinks like, no, we got to get Donald Trump out of office because if we don't, this country is just going to hell. I don't want to live here anymore. You know, just doesn't want to face the ugly reality that there's fucked up people out here. They've always been here. I told them that when freaking Obama was elected. I was like, no. I was like, these people have been here. They're just in their feelings because Obama is, you know, president. But anyway, let me go because Cap is calling me. I'm going to end this video. That's my video, SWP out.